Hello everyone and welcome to my lecture on static fields and static methods. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you've watched my lesson on the concept of default methods, or special methods. If you haven't, then I highly suggest that you click on the link in the description and watch that lesson first. Okay, so in this lesson we continue using our example of the window size class. You would be familiar with it, having watched my previous lesson. And in the last lesson we wrote the default methods toString and equals for this class window size. We also went over the fields and the constructor of this class. Now, if you recall, the fields of this class are basically properties that each window would have about its parameters. So for example, each window would have a width and each window would have a length. So these are properties specific to each instance of the class window size. Now, in contrast to that, what if we want something to be a property of the class itself rather than specifically of an instance of the class? So here's an example. What if we want there to be a minimum width? What if we want to say that if a window has less than 5 inches width, that is not really a window? Well, in that case, we also declare a variable called minWidth, except we add in the keyword static right after we say public. This way, we will have this. You see that Eclipse actually automatically italicizes this variable name. So once we declare a variable static, what's going to happen is that this value, 5.0, is going to be a value common to every single instance of the class window size. And it is not dependent on which instance it is. So for example, if we go to the main here, we don't say, for example, usually we would refer to, say, the width of the window w1 as w1.width. However, in the case of a static, we don't use the dot operator. Rather, we say window size. We say the class name dot minWidth. Because the value minWidth is actually common to every single instance of the class window size. How would we use a static variable? Well, let's say we have decided that 5 inches is the minimum width of a window. Then in the constructor we have to take account for that, and we'll say if the input width is greater than or equal to the minimum width, then we proceed as normal. Otherwise, we print error windows have to be at least, and we print here the min width so that the user knows what's going on, and we add the unit inches wide. And similarly, we can declare, so that you see what's going on here, we print error windows have to be at least 5 inches wide. And that way, we can actually allow the user to re-specify what the width is, knowing what error has occurred. Similarly, we can create create a static for min length, and let's say that's 7 inches. And we do the same procedure here. If the input length is greater than or equal to min length, then we proceed as normal. Otherwise, we print, let's copy and paste here, like so, and nice. Alright, so that is the concept of a static field. The fields min width and min length are static fields of the class window size, and these are variables with value which is common to every instance of this class. So now let's talk about static methods. So it's a similar idea to static fields. So these are actions which are general properties of the class rather than an action we can take to an instance of the class. Now, it's hard to explain theoretically, so let's just look at an example. Let's say we have public static let's just say we have public static window size add. So let's say this is a method we will use to add two different window size objects, W1 and W2. So intuitively, we want to basically create a window size which is the sum of the two window sizes, and let's just make it easy. We will add up the widths and we'll add up the lengths. So this method would return a new window size, and that's very important because this method isn't going to change anything about W1 or W2. It is simply going to take these two window sizes as input, and it's going to return a new window size, and the new window size is going to have width which is equal to W1.width, so the width of W1 plus the width of W2. It's going to have the length which is the length of W1 plus the length of W2. Here we go. And this is what we have here is a static method. And what differentiates a static method from a normal method is, again, when we call on it, we don't say W1.add. Rather, we say window size.add, because the add method is a property of the window size class and not an instance of the window size class. So we have W1 and W2. Let's just add it and try to print it out to see what the result is. So let's print whatever we just wrote here, and run. And as expected, we get a window size of 20 inches by 30 inches, which is indeed W1 and W2 added together. So that's the concept of a static method. Static fields and methods are very important concepts that need to be mastered if you want to take on larger projects. When you have complicated structures with many classes, if each class has well-organized static fields and methods, it will make the organization process of the larger structure a lot easier.